Welcome to Creative Bursts, your little bit of creativity in the day. I'm Sarah Webb. I'm a children's writer and a creative writing teacher. I'd like to start with this quote by the wonderful Roald Dahl. And he said, "Watch the world with glittering eyes. Those who don't believe in magic will never find it." Today is all about hidden stories. And when I was a little girl, I used to love hiding on the top of my climbing frame. My dad designed this wonderful wooden climbing frame, and on the top there was a platform. And we used to drag up cushions and blankets and old sleeping bags and create a little reading hut of our very own. Do you have a special place that you like to hide and read? Or maybe you bring your notebook and your pen. So I wrote a poem inspired by this reading den that we called our tree house. And here it is. So this is the first version that I wrote. As you can see, it's in a notebook and it's kind of a scribbled version. There's lots of crossing out, lots of mistakes, lots of new bits put in. And this is often how I write. I make lots and lots of changes, mistakes, edits, and then finally I will type it out. And this is the typed out version, and it's called Treehouse. High up in a leafy tree, shaded from all company, is the place I love to be, hiding in my treehouse. Happy as sky and happy as free, happy as reading high up in my tree. And now what I'd like you to do is to design your own special treehouse. Design it out, draw it out, and then I'd like you to write a poem or a short piece or anything you like, a comic book, all about what it feels like to be high up in your tree, shaded from all company, in a special, special place. Now, write! Hidden stories. So now we're going to create some stories around little lost and hidden things. Do you have a drawer in your house that's full of keys that you're not sure what door they open, of little broken bits of jewellery, little old toys, that kind of thing? We certainly do. So what I've done is I've put them all in a box and I'm going to use them to create stories with. So these are some of the things that I've found in my house. This is an old record by a band called the Boomtown Rats. It's called I Don't Like Mondays. Do you know what a record is? Ask your grown-up. This is a little house that's supposed to tell the weather. It kind of moves. The little boy and girl move out depending on the weather. This is an old broken watch. I'll come back to this one in a second. And these are other bits and pieces I found. Old address books, a llama, an old brooch, an elephant, all kinds of little things. So what I want you to do is to choose one or two things that you have found, and I want you to use them to create a story. So I'm going to use the watch. So these are the kind of questions that I want you to ask. Who owns the thing? Where and when did they lose it? Where do they live? What do they want? And one more last question, and this is really important. What they want, what motivates them? Do they want to travel the world? Do they want to see their long-lost sister? Do they want to overcome a dragon? Once you know that, what they want, the story becomes much easier to write. So I'm going to say, and I'm just making this up on the spot, that this watch is owned by a girl called Lotta, and she is living in the Second World War, and she lives in London, and she's lost her watch during an air raid in London in the Blitz, and she's also lost her sister. And what she wants is to find her sister. That's what she wants more than anything else. So I already have lots of structure to create my story, and now I'm going to go and create my story. How about you? What have you chosen to write about? Now get writing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a poem from words that are hidden in newspapers or magazines. So I'd like you to get a newspaper or magazine like this one, and cut out using a scissors, or you can tear some of the larger kind of what they call the captions. So anything big. I've already cut some of these out so they don't exist anymore. But anything like this, the big words, so you can read them nicely. Then, once you've got a collection of them, I'm going to give you a theme to write about in a second, and then you'll use those words to construct a poem. So some of the ones I've cut out are here. This says reaching for the sky. This says undefeated. That's a good word. This says wild. This says whisper. And I have created a poem about my sister. And then, as you can see, I've put some of the words I cut out into it. This is what it says. My sister. My sister has style. My sister has class. It's worth explaining. She's a lifesaver, the heart of our family, our North Star, our firefly in the dark, our mega star. I love her. So that's one example of the type of poem that you could make using the words you've cut out. So here are some themes for you. You can do my sister, my brother, my mum, my dad, my gran, my grandpa, my dog, my cat, my teacher. There's lots of other ideas you could use as well, but they're just some examples for you. So get your little cutout words, decide which ones you want to use to create your poem, stick them on a sheet or put them in with sellotape, and then put words around them and create your own special poem using hidden words from the newspaper and magazines. So get creating. We're now going to make a blackout poem. Now, blackout poems are really interesting. You take an existing piece of text and you black out the text you don't want, leaving the words you do want. I'll give you an example in a second. So all you'll need for this is a piece of text from the newspaper, from a magazine, from anything you like. But you can download, we have 2 of the blackout poems from the We Are Poets programme, which is run by Laureate Nanogue, Sarah Crossan. And these look like this, so you can use them as well. So this is one which hasn't been blacked out, but all you need to black out your poem is a large pen, or a pencil is fine too. And then black out the words you don't want, leaving the words you do like. What I usually do is I find a word on the block of text that really interests me. In this one it was apple, so I chose the word apple to centre everything else around. And I'll read you what I found. Hidden in this piece that's by Sarah Crossan. Apple, yellow of egg yolk. I don't like my teacher's tone, or her bulging eyes, or her smelly trainers, or her mouth like a prune. Apple green, she reminds me of a mouldy apple. I don't like apples. Miss Apple. So, you give it a go. As I say, all you need is a marker, a piece of text, and go at it with your marker and create something really interesting. Also, on the Molly website, there is an example of a blackout poem, a text for a blackout poem, and this is from the late great James Joyce. So you can make a blackout poem inspired by Mr. James Joyce, no less. So thank you for joining me for Creative Burst today. And I'd like to leave you with one of my favourite quotes by Mr. Einstein. And he said, creativity is intelligence having fun. Thank you for joining me.